space is just one thing. I was a physicist in biophysics at GE at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. I had a very strong backing from superiors and people. I got a contract while I was down at the University of Southern California, Southern Florida, to open it. I gave a little talk to the teacher, microbiologist. I was at graduate school. I was taking microbiology in addition to physics, and I had 2 years of nuclear physics in the Army, specialty. But LOBUND that's the laboratory of biology at Notre Dame University. It's nicknamed LOBUND, LOBUND. And I met Don Luckey there, who was the head of the Department of Biophysics and Biochemistry at the University of Missouri. And we became friends instantly. Well, Don told me about his work. He was trying to show that man could not live with microbiology, but those little plants, they were plants, microbes, were necessary to keep us alive. Everybody poo-pooed that. If we get rid of all the microorganisms in our body, we'd be so big and strong we could lift the earth, which is pure bullshit. Don explained his work, and he worked with animals and people. It sounded fun. So I got to thinking, how can I study a germ-free animal? Now, we're possessed with thousands of kinds of germs. It's terrible to say germs. Microorganisms. And they all have a purpose. So I started looking into it. People had tried it and got nowhere because the body would manufacture chemicals using the bodies of the microorganisms, come out with different things. The microorganisms spawn other chemicals in the body, and there are thousands of urine, for example. We found 2,000 different kinds of things in urine. Now, not that one, but that's connected with the literature. Everybody reported what they had found in urine. And so I talked to my boss, and he was pretty enthusiastic. So GE bought me a library, not a library, a laboratory. A number of house trailers empty. Cargo trailers, hooked them up with every type of electricity and water and toilets and everything. It was pretty good. It had 6 different places where you could keep things. So I started getting animals. I had monkeys, uh, rats, mice, dogs, cats. Let's see. Well, several other kinds. Now, I had several microbiologists. I had 2 chemists and a regular biologist and physicist. 4 people. And, 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 This was a Valley Forge, a block and a half from my home. Well, nice. I'd take me 2 minutes to get to work. I figured out they put them in what they call isolators. These animals, and you exhausted all the air and put in the kind of air you wanted. And you fed them with nothing that contained a microbial, a microbe that you wanted to study. Now, how did you get down to one? It turns out that microbes fight like hell for available nutrition, and one pushes another out, and they start new ones. And this happens millions of times a day. Uh, so the heart of the lab was microbiology. And what we did was do all the things I just said. We served no food that had any microbes. And we put them in the isolator and filtered out all the microbes. What happened? The monkeys got sick. And you know what? It turned out that you put in 2 good microbes and it turned out a bad one. Or a bad one that would kill you all by itself. Mix it with another bad one and you came out with one that was very good. Manufactured something that you needed badly. Well, this wasn't total knowledge, but it was new to most folks. And we took my monkeys, and they were apes, so, and gave them this. That didn't work. So why? We know we don't have any microbes. We ate them. We were starting to try and make food to feed the monkeys flying. At the astronauts did, what total, what A, B, and C, and so the government funded us very heavily. Well, turns out that dead microorganisms do the same thing as the live. They don't give you that disease themselves. They mix with another rat and either give you something good or something bad or just makes all microbes. Millions and billions. And if you wash them, the more you wash them, the more you got. You take a shower, you got more microbes on your skin than you had before you took the shower. That astounded me. A fellow named Dick Ryman-Schneider, CDC food, and that was a help. We got to get rid of the microbes inside of the body. And I can't say we can give them something that just clean them because it would just kill them. People had to have whatever the microbes were making. This went on with numerous experiments for a couple of years. Finally, I made plastic, well, I had big steel cages. These were H. Speciosa, 6 feet forward. They could tear you apart if they got to you. And they hated us because I got to get rid of all the skin microbes. So I used 1/10% peracetic acid, and we put them in what they call pressure cages, holding them tight against the bars of the cage. The cages were the size of a large walk-in closet, one per cage. And we had to have 2 together so I could transfer cage to cage. When we're feeding them, well, we got the nutrition. sort of a capsule, had no microbes in it. But all the bodies were gone. This was quite a job. They managed it. It looked like lemon slices. Uh, we started feeding the monkeys. First they liked it. Finally they ate it. Then they got hungry and they ate it. We then started feeding them antibiotics. I tried several. Finally got one that made them sicker than the dog and they got rid of. And their poop was fake. So no mind. We washed them down with carboxylic acid. This burns like hell. You can imagine how they hated this. We take 4 of us to do it, hold the cage study. I was monkey rage to try to bite us, scratch us, anything. Finally, we got the monkeys, and I got all these data that were relatively germ. In other words, if they had a large lab, and I had biohazard signs all over, because sometimes we end up with a microbe. We start with, say, 20 different kinds in them, identified, and we end up with 2 that were known pathogenic. You got to get away from that fast, or you got dead people. So we worked in this biohazard lab, and we got down to the apes, other stuff, with no identical corpses. It took a while to get to the They lasted forever. And they were getting none in their food. Or just feeding something made for us. Well, then we found that we could put one in the microbe, and he would thrive a little better. So we take that away, go through and get another result. Then we put 2 of them together, like I just said, and there they loved the monkey. And the monkey would get very sick, or the monkey would turn their health into nothing flat. Well, this proved that if you were going into space, that you had a bunch of microbes on you. But one would kill another, and they couldn't come back, right? There was no way. If they died out, they died out. We keep getting new bacteria in us all the time. Well, this is another thing. Those people that go into space are going to be loaded with bacteria, different kinds. After they've been in for about a month or 2, they do what the start called simplified. 20 kinds, and they get 10 kinds. Then 5 kinds. Then 3 kinds. Then 2 kinds. And maybe they killed each other. Or maybe they didn't. They formed a 3rd kind. And then 3 different ones formed a 4th kind of bacteria never seen before. So we had to think out a way to stop that or improve. And we did it by substituting a bacteria here and there, just one, to see what would happen and try to get one big happy family of bacteria in the man. There wasn't. You could live without them if you knew what he's missing. That meant health exams like mad every day and find out if there's any. One lousy bacteria on Thursday would be a billion on Monday. And my people work like dogs, identifying the number and the kind. And I wrote a book on it, 456 pages. The government published it. You could buy one for like $700. I never had to worry about commissions. But I have it right here. You see it, haven't you? I'm sure it's right here somewhere. A book the government published later. And I started writing papers. Well, everybody's interested in someone else's work. If it looks like there might be $1, people are going to have GE pouring in money. Like, boy, my laboratory is getting bigger. I'm getting happier. My boss is happier. I am getting scientific approval all over the world. I'm getting invitations to speak in Russia, Japan, South Africa, Brazil, Mexico, a number of American universities like Notre Dame, Caltech, explaining this. That kept me traveling, lots of fun. And so I worked with that for a long time. Well, GE sold the laboratory to RCA. And RCA decided after seeing the laboratories produced nothing you could sell. And they had to work like hell to get money. So they decided to close it and get out of it. So they turned off the whole space science. They went out. Well, that was another story. And they switched to to missiles again, nuclear weapons. But the Army had sent me 2 years to nuclear school. I'm a pretty damn good nuclear physicist. Working with nuclear bombs. I commanded a company in the battalion of nuclear scientists in San Diego, But here I am at GE, working exactly like I did, like a captain in the Army. Almost the same people. They looked alike, smelled alike, different names, but they were all. And the same weapons that I worked on in the Army. That was boring. So when they closed, I started my own company, saying, oh, I'm a good engineer. I got an engineering certificate from South Dakota Technological. See? And I can build myself better biohazard than we got by commercial market. So I designed it. Got those two. Sold them for a lot of money, 10 grand each. I got $1,000 of each. But they're hard to sell. You walk into a doctor's office and look for $10,000, he's throws through the wall. But I sold a lot to universities and hospitals and stuff like that. So we ate at home. But my wife got ill, and she said, She had been a nurse, and I think she decided she had cancer, but I didn't. But she says, I want you to sell out your company. It wasn't in my head. I took special orders in design. Uh, I want to move. I want to live near the kids. So in California, New Mexico, anyway, 3 states in the West. So I said, what do I do for a job? She said, you always tell me you know everybody around the world. Prove it. So I started calling around. You know anybody that needs a genius in physics, chemistry, physiology, microbiology? I'm a member of all of these groups, and I have certificates to prove it. I'm a fellow of microbiology, one who contributed greatly, and the same with chemistry. I was giving talks at Caltech and Notre Dame in this country. So the guy called me back. I knew him when we were both. He's now a vice president of marketing. He goes up, I'm still a scientist. Uh, Not good. But at any rate, he said, I could use man bang your talents. I said, yeah? And I was shy. I said, what do you pay? How much do you need? So I told him 35 grand. I was making with JE 12, with Martin 8. I just jumped over and said, and so he howled. I made over 30. This puts us in the upper bucks in my neighborhood. Uh, and we moved to Denver. I bought a house, had a fire sale. Never been lived in, still being finished. And I bought it for 100,000. The guy wanted 185. Well, I didn't have that much saved or anything like it. So I had a friend who worked at me. He said, I used to be a real estate broker. He said, there are services that look up people to see how much money they really have. He said, I looked this guy up. He's got a lot of land. He's getting a divorce. So he said, he's getting a divorce because his wife found out he's got a girlfriend he's supporting. And she's got most of the money. He said, this guy's got a house. I said, yeah, I've seen it. Beautiful. He said, offer him 90,000. That's half. I said, I couldn't do that. I knew he'd throw me away. That house he was going for 885. I should offer him 90. Well, I dickered with the guy. He jumped out 150, 135, and down to 110. I couldn't believe it. He was coming down like that. And so Dick told me, 90 again. No, I said, look, I don't have I got money for the month. Well, I'll give you 99,000. He said, I'll take it. But, by the way, I sold a house, let's see, 3 times that. The people that bought it from me for 300,000, and I lived there 30 years. Sold it for over $1 million. This development, all the houses are going up for $1 million, $1.5 million, and I was almost on the lake, 2 lakes they had, and a golf course. I lived on Golf Course Drive. Here we got a championship golf course. It's all $1 million homes. My wife just, this is just a few weeks. Well, I lived there for a while. But I don't think we'd owned it for a month when she's sick. I take her to see a doctor. He puts her in the hospital. He says it's tough. She's got cancer. Oh, she's got cancer. What kind? I don't know yet. I'll know in about 3 months if she's still alive. Oh. So he said, I said, how do you know all this? I'm pretty hard to answer. But I had sold him some biohazard equipment, and I knew him fairly well, Denver. So he says, can you read these charts? So I could read anything. With all that biochemistry, I could just take it and read it. I'm a widower. I just don't know it yet. Passed away about a week later. Stomach cancer, unknown type. I wanted to find a convenient wall to drive the Cadillac into at 100 miles an hour. But I couldn't get one where I wouldn't go. My sons came up after 5 years. I said, gee, what am I crying about? I can go down and buy a hunting gun. I got it. They won't give me a gun. And my younger boy could holler like a banshee. What's the matter with you, Dad? Mama's gone, you know? I heard as well as they. You're just a coward running. I got the law laid down. He said, I'm going to stay right here. And we're going out and see what's going on in Denver. We went on every bar. We went the longest Denver street. Chip and I, we get semi-loaded every day. I'm working for Martin. Chip is working for an automobile. At the end of about 6 months, my boss said, you know, you got to get something to do. Your work is suffering. I didn't like it. Chipper liked it. So we used to go to his place in the mountains. Chip and I would meet him and his wife and cook out and stay overnight. Well, join the Elks. Oh, like my father. King of Prussia did not even have a legion. They had no. They had churches of about 4 different kinds, but no lodges of any type. masons, anything. In fact, when we first moved there was a real estate office, shop, and I think that was it. No groceries or anything. Had to drive 12 miles to go to the grocery store. And we were at Valley Forge Park, buses. Uh, I lived there 31 years because I met a girl. We used to fight like cats. She's well educated. I met her at a singles store. We got to know her, but she was strong Catholic. Mother went to church every day. This kid, that kid, oh, had lots of children. Divorced, married to a doctor I knew, and who was a friend of mine. She threw him out the window when she found her in bed for some days. He was married 5 times. But anyway, he was a handsome millionaire, an orthopedic surgeon. At any rate, we had 2 houses. She had a house full of kids. I had children. And I'd go out to the Elks at night. And then I knew another millionaire. He was my barber. A millionaire barber. Who ever heard of that? I know. That was a strange story. But he talked me into joining the Masons. And I got very active with them. And I went through Masons. The whole works. Every order. And I joined El Jabel Shrine. You know, basically, it wasn't cheap. Hey, uh, Masonry had dozens, and I belonged to I spent money like water. Oh, I'd sold a King of Prussia. Damn good money. Many thousands. Anyway, I stayed there until finally, her folks, her uncles and aunts died and left her a house in some city. So we moved down there. And but meanwhile, I had started this travel agency. I stayed married to this gal. We got married in Vegas. And just but I knew what income tax. We had a great time. And then she spoke. And that was in Colorado. Then Jerry and Dan and the other kids started moving that way. And I had a whole tribe there in Colorado. But one of the reasons we moved to Colorado, Martin, they're hard-hearted. They'll get a contract, open a box of engineers. As long as the contract lasts, they all got a high-paying job. From standard. If the contract ceased on the 2nd of February, the 3rd of February, they closed they would close that group. They're on the street. But I had their young yens because when I first started negotiating for a job with Martin, this guy said, "Get what you can, this friend of mine." He said, "You'll not get much more." He said, "This is kind of work." He said, "If they offer you 100,000, you'll never get 101. You get what you start with, except a few friends." He said, "Read the contract, what you need." So the first thing I read was I can retire 5 years after I'm 55. I had worked 5 years for Martin. After 55, I can retire on a year-to-year basis. Not like the, and that was a patient. But then I thought, well, hell, I always considered that with GE for the Army. I also found a thing that says, "We shall pay your insurance total for your family for the years you work for us. And after you leave us, if you leave under retirement, you would keep that forever." Medical? This sounded good. So I went to a guy at the shrine. Said, "Is this good?" "Holy mackerel," he said, "I've never seen better." "Take it." He said, "Take it if they won't even pay you." He said, "When are you going to retire?" I said, "I'm 61. I can retire at 62. He said, "You're going to lose most of your Social Security. But you never did make much as an engineer." They don't make money. I had Chipper making 50,000 a year. I'm making 35, 30. Jerry's making more money than I am. So is Chick. Everybody. And so when Gus got sick, Martin paid it. All the trouble. When Gus was in I had, he said, "You know, all the times I went to the hospital, Martin could do." When Elaine got stroke, she had to be fed by hand. A nurse sitting there beside her 24 hours a day. It cost the insurance company over $1 million. The hospital would send the insurance company the bills, and I get a carbon copy. I couldn't believe it. 1 week, 300,000. Finally, she passed away. 31 years with her. But we had gone around the world so many times. I was beginning to know airport waitresses by their first and last names. I liked the Masons. They were fun. I was on lots of committees. And I worked like a dog. I left Martin's. I drawn Social Security and really my own travel company for what I needed for the rest. But I put some money away. F's the same way. Uh, I found out a lot of tricks about that. Most people don't know how to sell. I picked up twice after we're ready to sign a contract. I will all of a sudden remember something else that would reduce the cost. For example, this real estate company would give you 0.5% off of the cost of selling a house if they had 5 references. They didn't have to buy 5 references from you. They charge 6% to start with. You got 1% off if you, and then I got another 0.5% off because I had recommended them 5 different times to people who sold, allowed them to sell their house or bought a house. Now, does that make any difference in your life? What's 0.5%? Well, that's $5,000. Multiply that by what you get every 10. You got 300,000. 3,000 is 1%. That would be 15,000 a year off of my mortgage. That's what we're fighting for. And I remind them and get that. I got that money off. And there were other ways that I get money off. I can show you what to make on selling a house and what to say. And they're in the law. So they gotta comply. If you're selling a house, well, let's say you're buying one. You and I have each $100,000, and we buy a $300,000 house. If you say, I'll give you $100,000, you get, for down payment, you get a 4% mortgage. 150,000, 3.5%. Well, so here you go ahead and you put your money into it, and you got a 4% mortgage. 4% of 200,000 is $8,000 a year. So what I said was, I want of the lowest down payment I could get. And I picked up a down payment of like $30,000 for the Denver house. They wanted $30,000 I don't pay each year. I forgot, like, I figured it out, and I told them, not the real estate. But $30,000 at 5 or 4%. 4,400 a year on 12,050. But I already did it. Good. Still get that credit? I can show you this. You would sell your house and you'd make $8,000. That's more than I said. But that was all that other money that you spent, you left them with the down payment. You never got a thing for it. You were putting the money into it. It was your money you were getting back. Even though we sold our houses for exactly the same money, I didn't have any money in my house. I just had a year's worth of interest and my down payment. And so I had maybe 40,000. I sold it for made 240. I get 24,000. But you get nothing. Gave them 100,000 and sold it for 3. And you put another, you get 4% for 100,000. You made $4,000. I made 18. That's learning those tricks on real estate is very important. And I had help. A friend of mine was a broker, the same one that helped me get the house in the first place. He introduced me to a real estate lawyer and help. And we went around, drank beer together, and figured out ways to make more money on the sale. But that's the things I wanted in life. What I wanted, I got out of high school. I wanted to be a chemist. I wanted to be an internationally known chemist. And I got that. All this speaking and talking. I gave talks to American Chemical Society National. And I hit the newspapers like I owned them. 26 papers. That's more than any of my college students ever seen. I got to be known internationally. And so I started thinking, am I that smart? I was meeting geniuses. Poor little Bengson. And why am I getting these in? I had to keep turning them down. Australia, New Zealand, Japan. Well, it turned out that I didn't cause any trouble. I got to know people, let's say, in the Society for Microbiology. And they write me, they talk. Are you going to the convention in Moscow? I haven't been invited. What? Next thing you know, I got a telegram or a telephone from GE. And GE said, Dr. Bengson, we've had a request from the State Department for you to attend the convention of American microbiologists in Moscow. Would you be available? Would your work be available? You could get on. And I'd say, I could arrange it. Oh, listen. Okay. Figure on taking out such and such and such and such a date and representing the U.S. and GE in Moscow, Mexico. But you gotta give a paper. You just can't go. Then I meet a lot of people there, and I meet them, and they had organized these bodies, say 15 members, and they say, they get a list of, say, available chemists, and they down the list, and they say, here's John Jones. He talks good. Give a drug once in a while. His wife will help organize the ladies. Let's invite him to Buenos Aires. You know, at the meeting there. I have to send him a ticket, but that's all right. Oh, I got no one. I started getting calls. Could you get away if the government would pay us or GE? The government would say a lot. We'd love to have you tell them about the space program. Uh, that was paradise. And I worked in a space program. The first success I really had. The government has spent millions to try and figure out how to get the spaceman water and food. He's going to be gone for maybe a year or 2 years just to reach someplace. Maybe 2 years, 3 years. Water weighs a penny, weighs a pound, a pint. The guy needs a quart a day. Why you haven't got it? The whole Earth is hardly enough to carry that weight. And it's a spacecraft about itself. And so everybody was taking the path of distillation or other paths you never heard of. And the government was paying the big money to corporate to try and find out how to make food out of poop and drinking water out of poop and pee and all that stuff. So my boss said, take a look at it. I looked and I found that they had identified in Europe over 100 years 2,000 different contaminants in Europe. 2,000! Well, I was a good chemist, but not that good. That would have taken a laboratory the size of the Capitol. That's what's up, money and size. So I told my boss, they're going, nobody's going to make anything. But I'd like to give it a try of some others. So he liked me, he said, go ahead. Well, do you remember who was the guy that was told in history, or myth out in Greece? He could marry the king's daughter if he could unroll the ball of twine. Remember that story?
Alexander.
Huh?
Alexander, the Gordian knot.
Yeah. Well, if he didn't unwind it, he got shot or something. But that's how he would get the whole thing. If he could untie Gordon's knot, that was it.
Gordian.
Yeah. And they came to this one young sprout. They didn't even want to give him a chance. But they said, okay, we'll give you a chance. Remember, you get shot. So he took the sword and went, boom! Chopped it in half. Here's your parts. Remember that story now? Well, that's what I thought of. Maybe that's what this needs, a chop. What do we need to make water? Do you know? We need hydrogen and oxygen. So, and they're entangled in 2,000 different kinds of it. So, how do we get rid of the contaminants? Oh, I got lots of advice from companies. You take such and such and such and such, and the 2 pounds of this, you put in 1 pound of that, and that makes enough for a week. This advice is worth nothing. Everybody's got the same damned ideas, and nobody's come close. The government's very happy the space program is on the rocks. Well, I thought if I can separate these things, the hydrogen and oxygen will come together if that's the only thing and form water. That ain't helping me. But I said, well, there's these contaminants, all kinds of things, other chemicals, just a little, but contaminants. I say, I got vacuum, that's free. I need vacuum for distillation. I need heat, but I got all the nuclear power in the world in a spacecraft. I can get up to 2,000 degrees and nothing flat for a switch. Sometimes it gets up to 2,000 degrees. That's what I timed out the temperature. So all I do, I got high power tubes. Whoa. And I put a catalyst in. And one would last forever. The catalyst did not dissolve. It just catalyzed the result. And tried it. In 2 hours, I pulled the water crystal clear off the distillation apparatus. I couldn't see anything. I sent it away to Philadelphia Waterworks, New York Waterworks. Asked them to analyze it. And they analyzed the living hell out of it. There was nothing in it but hydrogen and oxygen. All of the contaminants had been burned up at 2,000 degrees in 2 hours. Wonderful. Well, I got another one from GE within the company. They needed an explosive who'd worked in the space industry, knew rocketry, and I did a year. The rocket specialist at GE. And they offered me a couple of thousand more to transfer from bioscience lab to anti-missile missile. I think it took me 20 seconds to decide yes. I got out of the space program instantly, but I'm still working in the space program by working with anti-missiles now. And I came up with an anti-missile program. It was so classified that I couldn't see any other people that's working on it. That's hopeless. You gotta work with others. But they gave me a patent and assigned it to GE. GE paid. I had already had the water patent. Look in that drawer right here. Look in there. A square of plastic. Heavy, right? It's really heavy, like a paperweight. That's an inventor's medal, right? Yeah. A share of stock and $100. That was for the patent. Anti-missile. That was kind of fun. $100. GE took it. They put up all the money. It cost a lot of money for me to do that. And they took it all. I got a, but I was on the inventors panel. Me and Steinmetz. I liked that. When I left General Electric and had my own company, we spent all the money. Pretty soon I'm selling land in Florida. I sold so much land down there near Fort Lauderdale, you wouldn't believe, over 40 homes. And I didn't much be a land sale. Gotta eat, and there's nothing else to it. At the time, they get these little shorty books. Went out of work, you know what I mean. I had a wife and family. I took them to jobs, and I lived in a town, I think I named it, well, just below Fort Lauderdale. And that gave me a start until I went with Martin. I did not like working. One of the few I ever worked. I liked the guys, but the company, it was a mean outfit. Open a box of engineers. The day the contract said fire them. GE wasn't that way. We had a year between the time that GE closed the labs and get another job. Got paid all the time. But when I retired, 62, I really felt free. We had enough money to go on. I had some stocks and bonds. We didn't start. But the wife told me, she said, "You got to get a job." I said, "I got a job. I'm president of Bengson Associates." She said, "Look, I mean a job. Let me get a paycheck." I laughed. She said, "We're getting low. That bank account's not like zero." And then I got my full. Not that is not. I got about zero. I went and got the mail. I got a whole bunch of returns to the letters I was sending out of the advertising. The first one I opened was a $5,000 check down payment for one piece of equipment. And she let out a scream. She had a $10,000 check. We pulled in $40,000 that day. I never seen that much money. From then on, Bengson Associates was going like gangbusters until she comes down sick. The doctor knew. He said, "Can you read these figures?" Yeah. He said, "Well, I can't show them to you." He said, I got to see a patient. He said, "I'll be back in a half an hour." So when he went, I went over to his desk and read all his notes and all the readings. And I knew every one of them. Literally, that's what I'm saying. It's true. Yeah, that was a very hard time. And I met Elaine, which was a lifesaver. I wouldn't be here now if Sergeant Chip hadn't been such a tyrant and yelling at me. Let's go out and have a beer.